I told the alien warrior she had a great ass and saw stars a second later. Not the romantic kind, the concussion kind. Yeah, I probably deserved the slap. What I didn't expect was that one stupid comment would drag me into a conspiracy spanning two species, a galactic war, and the most confusing interspecies courtship ritual in the damn galaxy. Welcome to ASTRO HFY, where we tell bold cinematic sci-fi stories where humanity doesn't just survive. We outwit, outfight, and sometimes accidentally flirt with things that could rip us in half. Like, subscribe, and buckle up, because this isn't just a first contact story. It's the kind that might save two civilizations or get one idiot diplomat killed trying. The bar smells like burnt engine oil and fermented cabbage, like someone tried to make alcohol out of regret and spaceship coolant. It's not the worst dive I've been in, but it's trying hard to make the list. I swirl the blue sludge in my glass. It looks like transmission fluid and tastes like cinnamon-flavored acid. The bartender, a six-armed reptilian who probably eats his young for fun, keeps giving me side-eye. I don't blame him. I'm clearly not from around here. To be fair, neither is the 7-foot-tall alien warrior sitting next to me, radiating death in polished armor, and the kind of poise that says I could kill everyone in this room before you blink. "You're staring again, Commander Reeves," she says without looking at me. Her voice is cool, clipped-laced with disapproval. "I'm assessing potential threats," I reply, straight-faced. Kiara Valshar, Vexari, warrior bodyguard and living weapon, turns slightly toward me. Her lavender skin shimmers with faint lines of irritation, the kind that would mean nothing to most people, but which I've learned means I'm about to say something stupid. Her eyes a piercing, crystalline blue scan the bar constantly. Tactical, relentless. "There are 17 armed individuals in this establishment," she says, voice like steel wrapped in silk. "14 viable exit routes. I have calculated 31 neutralization patterns in the event of aggression." I take a sip of the burning blue horror in my glass. "Good to know you're feeling festive. You humans equate vigilance with tension. It is not the same. And yet even your armor looks tense." Her skin deepens a shade, flashing a dark purple annoyance. Maybe borderline offended. Still, she doesn't respond. Instead, her fingers twitch near the hilt of the plasma blade at her hip as a new drink slides in front of me. I didn't order it. From the gentleman in the corner, the bartender hisses. I glance over. A draconian merchant twice my size raises a glass in my direction, smiling with too many teeth. Fantastic. Just what I need attention from a galactic smuggler while I'm on a peace mission. Trouble, Kiara asks, hand drifting toward her weapon. "Probably," I murmur. "Let's not start an interstellar incident over a drink, though." I raise the glass in polite refusal and set it down. The smuggler nods, respect or warning hard to say. Crisis averted. For now. Kiara stays coiled beside me, every line of her body humming with readiness. I glance sideways at her, trying to break the tension. "You know," I say, before my brain can catch up, "you've got an extremely well-trained ass." Silence. Complete suffocating silence. Her skin flashes crimson, starting at her cheeks and rushing down her neck like a heat wave. I've seen her shrug off high-velocity gunfire without blinking, but this knocks her visibly off balance. Then she slaps me. It's not a slap, really. It's an event. Her open palm collides with my face like a plasma burst. Stars explode behind my eyes. I feel my ancestors recoil in horror. I blink through the pain. Noted, I croak, rubbing my jaw. Still worth it. "You are the most inappropriate, unprofessional diplomat I have ever encountered," she hisses, still flushed red. "And yet, here we are, working together. Isn't the universe delightful?" Before she can respond or murder me, the bar doors slam open. 3 figures step in wearing Krellian battle armor. Black dented, unregistered. Weapons out. Visors gleaming. Kiara goes rigid. "Bounty hunters." "You sure?" "Modified armor. Illegal mods." They're looking straight at us. The lead hunter raises his weapon. "Commander Reeves," he says through a voice modulator, "you have something that belongs to our employer." I sigh and push my drink away. I really hope that wasn't aimed at me. Kiara doesn't wait. In one fluid motion, she flips our table up into the air. Blaster fire slams into the wood, splintering it mid-air. She tackles me behind the bar as the place erupts into chaos. Energy blasts shriek overhead. Bottles explode. Someone screams in a language that sounds like gargling gravel. I roll to my feet, pulling the sad excuse for a diplomatic sidearm from my belt. I don't even know what they're talking about, I shout, ducking behind a pillar. Kira slices through the air like liquid fire plasma blade, carving arcs of purple light. Clearly they believe you possess the Proxima encryption key. Do I unknown? But your diplomatic credentials are clearly a cover. They are not. I'm actually here for the mining treaty. Another blast slams into the bar behind us. Debatable, she mutters, eyes flashing. She's enjoying this way too much. We move. Back door. Service tunnels. The draconian smuggler from earlier shows up out of nowhere, dual-wielding blasters like some kind of outlaw savior. You again, I shout. They're bad for business, he growls, shooting over my shoulder. You owe me. We sprint through smoke and screaming into the rear corridor. Kara disables one of the hunters with a spinning kick that sends him through a rack of alien whiskey. We don't stop until we're on a private landing pad, my shuttle, the Draconian says. Payment for getting them out of my bar. You don't even know what's going on, I say, breathless. I don't care. The hegemony's involved. I hate the hegemony. Fair enough. We lift off. The shuttle hums like a dream, fast, silent, untraceable. Kiara takes the controls. I slump into the co-pilot's chair and exhale finally. Then I remember what I said to her in the bar. So, about the compliment. She doesn't look at me. In Vexari culture, comments regarding physical attributes, particularly the posterior, are considered formal signals of courtship intent. I blink, so I proposed. Not precisely, she says, but you issued what our customs would interpret as a challenge for mating rights? Oh, silence. A slow smirk pulls at the corner of my mouth. And you slapped me. So, challenge declined. She finally glances my way. No. Challenge acknowledged. My pulse does something unprofessional. Her skin shifts slowly to a soft pink. I think I'm in trouble. Big, beautiful, lavender-skinned, heavily armed trouble. And for the first time since stepping foot on this rock, I'm starting to think this mission might actually get interesting. We ascend into the atmosphere, the shuttle cutting through the clouds like a blade. Kayara sits at the controls, back rigid, hands firm. Her face is unreadable, locked in the kind of focus that comes from years of combat training and zero tolerance for chaos, of which I am currently the main source. I glance at her, rubbing my cheek where her slap is still tingling. I didn't realize I was proposing marriage when I said that. I mutter, my voice dry. She doesn't look over, just responds in a calm, matter-of-fact tone. Technically, you issued a challenge to prove your mating worth. I blink, and the slap, her tone sharpens slightly. Acknowledgement and warning. I lean back, exhaling. Charming culture you've got, I say half under my breath. This time she finally turns her head, giving me a sidelong look. Her voice lowers, amused but controlled. Better than yours. At least our courtship doesn't start with comments about one's posterior in public. I snort. Fair. She turns back to the nav panel, expression composed, though I catch a faint ripple of pink shimmer along her neck. Amusement, or maybe something else. We land deep in the mountains. Tall, jagged cliffs stretch like alien ribs toward the sky, hiding us from satellite eyes. Kara brings the shuttle down onto a flat ledge nestled between stone walls, silent and surgical. She powers down the engine and unstraps without a word. We'll move on foot, she says curtly, her voice clipped with urgency. There's an abandoned mining outpost nearby. Defensible, isolated. I grab my coat and stand. How romantic, I mutter. She doesn't answer, just starts walking. The outpost is as depressing as it sounds. A cluster of metal prefab units bolted into the cliff, coated in a century of dust. The wind howls through cracks in the structure, low and constant. I find the main control panel and flip the power. The lights flicker to life barely. Kira moves through the room with purpose, scanning with a handheld sensor. Life support system stable, she says. Comms are degraded but usable. This will suffice. I sit heavily on a crate, staring down at the ceremonial medallion still hanging around my neck. Think this is where they hid the chip, I ask, tapping it. She strides over, her tone even. Most likely. May I? I hand it to her without hesitation. She inspects it carefully, then pulls a slender blade from her gauntlet and slides it along the edge with expert precision. A quiet click. Inside, a slim black data chip glints in the dim light. Well, I exhale. Guess I did have it after all. Her voice tightens. You were set up. The most logical time was the reception ceremony. I frown. which means it had to be someone on the diplomatic team. Her jaw clenches. She speaks in a cold, even tone. Someone close to you. That chills me more than the mountain air. We get to work. Kira sets up comm relays bypassing encryption like she's done this too many times before. She doesn't ask for help. I just stay close watching, letting her brilliance unfold. She crouches over the console, fingers moving in practiced rhythm. Her voice is low-focused. I'm accessing the shuttle's back-channel interface. Draconian protocols are imperfect, but sufficient. I raise an eyebrow. Where'd you learn to slice into alien comms? Her answer is flat. Classified. Of course it is. Her skin gleams in the light of the monitor's lavender and faintly glowing. Strong lines, beautiful angles, lethal focus. I catch myself staring and look away. You know, I say, trying to cut the tension, I keep forgetting, you're technically not supposed to like me. She doesn't look up. Her voice is dry. I don't. You blush every time I compliment your respiratory efficiency. That gets her. Her hands pause for just a second. She speaks voice tighter than before. That is a chromatic reflex. Involuntary. I smirk. Still cute. Her skin flushes instantly soft pink across her cheekbones. She huffs more breath than voice. Do you want another slap, human? I raise both hands in surrender, grinning. Only if you're going easy on me this time. She stares at me and something passes between us. Tension, frustration, chemistry, maybe all three. Then she shakes her head, the faintest smile tugging at the corner of her lips. The console beeps. Encrypted message. Send her the draconian smuggler from earlier. Kira reads it aloud, her tone firm and clear. The encryption key was planted during the reception. Check your medallion. I tilt my head. Bit late for that. Already cracked it. She nods slowly. Still useful. It confirms inside knowledge. He has sources probably within your delegation. I lean forward, voice lower now. This conspiracy's deeper than one mole. Her tone hardens. Then we expose it. Name the traitor. Reveal the hegemony's hand. I give a short, bitter laugh. Right. Just the two of us against a galaxy-wide political machine. Her voice drops soft, fierce. Then we strike first. I stare at her for a moment. You're serious? She lifts her gaze to meet mine. Always. The night grows colder. She insists on taking first watch while I try to sleep. I don't. Eventually, I sit up on the creaky cot and rub my face. Kiara, I say quietly. She turns, her posture still alert, one hand near her weapon. Her voice is cautious. Something wrong, I shake my head. No, I need to ask. She waits. I swallow. Why risk it? You knew what that slap meant. You knew what would happen if your people found out. But you still... My voice trails off. Her reply comes slowly, soft, conflicted. Because you looked at me differently. Not as a warrior, not as an alien. You saw me. That surprised me. She takes a step forward. Her skin shifts, lavender waves mixing with flickers of blue. Emotion, struggle, and now I ask gently. Now she says with a faint breath, I've already crossed the line. There's no returning. I rise to my feet. We're close. Too close to be casual. Her expression is open but uncertain. The room feels warmer, smaller, intimate in a way that has nothing to do with physical space. In human culture, I say quietly, this is the part where we kiss. She tilts her head slightly. Her voice lowers to a whisper. Among Vexari, mutual bonds are acknowledged through physical contact. Only when both are certain. I nod. So, are we? She doesn't answer. Instead, she steps forward. Our lips meet and the galaxy stops spinning for just a moment. Her skin radiates heat, her touch electric. Colors shimmer beneath her hands, ripples of pink and violet moving like breath beneath her skin. When we pull apart, she rests her forehead gently against mine, voice like velvet. Now we are. We depart before sunrise. Kira pilots low over the canyon floor, the shuttle cloaked. No lights, no signal. Just the hum of the stealth drive and our breath in the silence. I sit in the co-pilot's chair, eyes on the city ahead. You sure about this? I ask. She nods without hesitation, her voice steady. The embassy's security will be on red alert, but we won't enter through the front. I glance at the crude building schematic on the screen. Maintenance tunnels. Exactly, she says. Unmonitored, narrow but effective. And if someone spots us, she draws her plasma blade, voice low and cold. They won't. The shuttle touches down just outside the city, cloaked behind an industrial complex where no patrol dares linger. We slip into the access tunnels undetected. Kiara leading the way, crouched low, her steps soundless, even on metal grating. I follow, heart pounding in my ears. Her voice is barely a whisper. There's a 3-minute reboot cycle in the embassy's security rotation. That's our window. I nod, murmuring back, let's make it count. We move fast through narrow shafts that smell like ozone and machine oil. I check my data pad for the stolen access codes. Kiara moves with terrifying grace, checking every corner before I even know there's a corner to check. She suddenly freezes, her voice tense. Stop. Patrol. I press myself against the wall just in time as footsteps echo down the tunnel. Kiara slides in close, her body flush against mine, one hand firmly over my mouth. Her skin is cool, her breathing perfectly measured. I can feel her heart racing through the armor, steady, controlled. The guards pass oblivious. When they're gone, she stays close a second longer than necessary. Her voice drops into a quiet murmur near my ear. You breathe too loudly. I grin under my breath. You were practically on top of me. She steps back smoothly. You're welcome. We press forward, climbing 2 maintenance levels to reach the diplomatic wing. A red glow pulses at the hallway's end sensors. Kiara disables them in seconds. Ambassador Harrington's office is through here, I whisper, pointing at the schematic. She replies softly, let's hope he's not in. I palm the lock. It opens with a soft click. The room is dark, silent, and blessedly empty. Inside the ambassador's office is exactly how I remember it. Sterile, dignified, quietly expensive. I move straight to the terminal. It still recognizes my biometric scan. Apparently, he never revoked my access. Kiara stands near the door, plasma blade, ready eyes scanning constantly. Cover me, I say, voice low but firm. She nods once. Always. I insert the stolen chip. The screen flickers. Lines of data flood in. Schematics, communications, battle plans, encrypted evidence of a hegemony strike. I read aloud in disbelief. They're planning to deploy a bioweapon, engineered to target both human and Vexari DNA, simultaneously. Through the Cygnus gate, Kiara's voice hardens. Extinction-level threat. My hands tremble on the console. This isn't just sabotage, it's genocide. She steps closer, her tone low and urgent. We need to transmit this to both delegations, simultaneously, unfiltered. A sudden alert chimes. The reception in the main hall has just ended. Delegates are moving this way. Kiara's voice sharpens. They'll be here within minutes. I stand. Then we don't run. We confront them. She blinks. That's reckless. I stare back, unflinching. Sometimes reckless is the only way forward. She hesitates, then nods, voice steady. Very well, but we face judgment together. I reach for her hand. We've done everything together so far. She grips mine with strength and certainty. Her skin flares a soft violet. The door slides open. Ambassador Harrington enters, first followed by War Commander Tyvek and a group of stone-faced delegates. At the rear, Thomas Elliott, the man who gave me the medallion. His face goes pale the moment he sees me. Commander Reeves Harrington says, voice level but cool, "This is unexpected." Tyvek narrows his eyes. Kiara Valshur. You dishonor your caste with your actions. Elliott reaches for something at his side. My gun's already out. Don't, I growl, voice sharp. Unless you want everyone to hear what you've been sending to the hegemony. He freezes. Harrington steps toward the console. I nod for him to check the terminal. He reads quickly, his face tightening. These files, they confirm everything he mutters. The invasion, the weapon, the betrayal. Kiara's voice is calm but fierce, and the key was planted on Commander Reeves. By someone in your ranks. She turns toward Elliott, her tone accusatory. Your deputy framed him. Elliott glares at us, voice rising. They're fugitives. They've compromised, check his comms, I cut in voice firm. Encrypted messages to hegemony outposts, dated before this mission even began. Tyvek signals to 2 guards, secure him. Elliott struggles as they restrain him. You're making a mistake, she's bonded with a human, she's a traitor. Tyvek's eyes bore into Kiara. Is it true? She stands tall, voice unwavering. Yes. Silence drops over the room like a thunderclap. I have bonded with Derek Reeves, she says clearly, and I would do so again. Tyvek's voice drops. You know the consequence. She meets his gaze. I do. I step beside her. You're wrong to punish her. Without her, none of this would have come to light. She saved us all. A younger Vexari warrior steps forward. His voice is respectful but firm. War Commander, our oldest texts say, when the stars change course, so too must tradition. Tyvek's expression darkens, then softens. You quote well. He looks at Kara again, then at me. You are unpredictable, both of you, but effective. He exhales a deep grumbling sound. Perhaps it is time for some traditions to evolve. After the confrontation, chaos turns into order. Both delegations scramble to plan for the coming war. Kira and I stand in the ambassador's garden alone for a moment. Her skin glows softly under the moonlight. You just challenged an entire command hall, she murmurs, voice equal parts reproach and admiration. I grin. Efficient, right? Her voice is quieter now. You may have changed Vexari law tonight. We changed it, I correct, taking her hand again. Together. She doesn't pull away. She never does anymore. The sky over the Vexari embassy complex glows gold in the early morning. It's quiet, too quiet for what's about to happen. I stand in the ceremonial gardens wearing something that might technically qualify as clothing, but mostly feels like body exposure with fabric accents. Vexari bonding attire for a human. It's minimal. Functional in absolutely none of the ways I prefer. I keep trying to adjust the chest piece, but it only seems to make things worse. I still think this is a prank, I mutter under my breath, shifting uncomfortably. Kara's voice comes from behind me, amused and low. You were warned. It is traditional attire for a bonded mate. I turn and promptly forget how to speak. She's breathtaking. Her armor has been polished to a mirror shine, but it's draped now with crimson ceremonial fabrics, the Vexari color of passion and devotion. Her crest-like hair has been braided with silver cords, each symbolizing her warrior lineage. Her skin shimmers in the soft dawn light, shifting with controlled chromatic precision. Joy, anticipation, and a little violet. Wow, I whisper, not even pretending to hide the awe in my voice. She tilts her head tone, teasing but steady. You look sufficient. For a human. I smirk. That's practically romantic coming from you. She steps closer. Her voice softens. You are certain about this? I don't hesitate. Kiara, after everything we've been through, I've never been more sure of anything. She breathes out slowly, almost like a sigh of relief. Then let us face it together. We move to the center of the garden. Concentric circles of human and Vexari officials watch silently as War Commander Tyvek steps forward to officiate. Harrington stands nearby, serving as my witness. Tyvek's voice booms firm and ancient. We gather to witness the bonding of two warriors who have proven that unity is strength and tradition is not inflexible when survival is at stake. He recites the Vexari rite in slow, resonant tones. It sounds like a war chant wrapped in poetry. When he finishes, Harrington steps forward, offering a small metal box. In Earth tradition, he says, clearing his throat, we exchange tokens. Vows of partnership. I open the box and pull out a medallion engraved with both Earth and Vexari sigils. My voice catches as I speak. Kiara Valsher, I say softly, voice rough with emotion. From the moment you slapped me in that bar, you've surprised me, challenged me. You've shown me strength, honor, and something I never expected, trust. I vow to stand by you in battle and peace, and to keep appreciating your respiratory efficiency appropriately. Kira's eyes flash red, briefly embarrassment, but also humor. A faint ripple of pink dances over her cheeks. She responds in Vexari, her voice controlled but emotional beneath the surface. Then she switches to English, her tone lower, deliberate. Derek Reeves, you are chaotic, unpredictable, and persistent. You taught me that emotion is not weakness. I will protect your honor as my own. I will fight at your side and continue to display appropriate chromatic responses to your inappropriate tendencies. A wave of laughter ripples through the human side of the crowd. The Vexari mostly look confused. Kiara presents me with a warrior's armband, sliding it onto my bicep. Her fingers linger. Her skin shifts gently toward violet. Tyvek raises both hands. By the laws of the Vexari and the commitments of Earth, I declare this bond complete. Then, just as our lips meet in a fierce public kiss, every communication device in the garden goes off at once. Tyvek pulls away, frowning deeply as he checks the incoming alert. His voice turns grim. The hegemony fleet has reached the Cygnus Gate. They've accelerated their timeline. The murmurs swell into tension. Delegates move quickly, activating protocols. I grip Kiara's hand tighter. Tyvek turns to us. The ceremony must be postponed. We have no more time. With respect, I say, voice louder than I intend. We're one sentence away from completing this bond, and I'd rather face what's coming as her official mate. Kiara looks at Tyvek, voice fierce. It would be an omen of ill fortune to leave it unfinished. He stares at us for a long beat, then finally nods. Very well. One last step. The final blessing is delivered in record time, but his voice doesn't waver. It still holds the weight of tradition, of centuries. When he finishes, I lean into Kiara again, whispering, "Now we're really in this together." She breathes out a quiet, focused chuckle. Now we fight as one. The command center is already in controlled chaos when we arrive, still half in our ceremonial gear. Tactical displays show a massive fleet, more ships than anyone predicted, streaming through the Cygnus Gate. Kiara's voice sharpens as she studies the screen. They've committed everything. This is a full-scale extermination plan. I point to the formation. Look, that segment there, barely shielded. Could be a blind spot. A human admiral steps forward, skeptical. You're suggesting a strike team punch through that? Yes, I say. We use the draconian shuttle stealth tech they haven't seen. We infiltrate the command ship and take out the core. The admiral looks to Tyvek. He crosses his arms. It is suicidal. Kiara steps forward, voice ironclad. Then I volunteer. And I take my mate. Tyvek stares at her, then at me. You just bonded. And now you throw yourselves into death. I hold Kiara's gaze. We've already survived worse. After a moment of heavy silence, Tyvek nods. Then go. Make it count. We board the draconian shuttle within 10 minutes. Kiara wears reinforced combat gear modified with ceremonial accents. Crimson cloth tied at her waist, a symbolic fusion of honor and duty. I'm back in a proper tactical suit, my diplomatic badge swapped for an arm guard that marks me as her bonded mate. As the shuttle lifts off and the city disappears beneath us, I glance over. You ready? I ask quietly. She doesn't hesitate. Always, she replies, voice calm, resolved. Her skin pulses faintly violet. The stars stretch ahead, cold, vast, and full of war. We breach the outer edge of the hegemony fleet under cloak, gliding between warships like ghosts. The command ship is massive, easily the size of a city bristling with weaponry. Our only shot is speed and surprise. Kiara checks her weapons. Plasma blade, pulse rifle, 3 grenades, 1 vibro knife. I check my standard issue gear and sigh. You're overpacked. I have 1 gun and a multi-tool. Her tone is dry. Then stay behind me. I smirk. Wasn't planning to do anything else. We exit the shuttle in EVA mode, drifting toward a service hatch. Kiara leads, slicing the panel open with practiced ease. We slip inside undetected. The corridors are narrow, sterile. The silence is deafening. As we move deeper, I ask, voice low, how many hostiles you think we'll face? She responds flatly. Depends. If they've identified our craft, hundreds. If not, still too many. I nod, heart racing. We reach the ship's central data core. Kiara hacks the terminal while I plant the viral payload we developed with the embassy's AI specialists, coded to trigger a feedback loop that'll disable targeting systems and reveal the fleet's full formation to our side. Just as I finish, alarms blare. They know I whisper. Kiara's tone sharpens. Defensive perimeter. Now, we brace for impact. The door explodes inward. Hegemony troopers pour in sleek black armor, zero hesitation. Kiara is already moving. Her plasma blade hums to life, carving a crimson arc through the first 2. Left flank, she shouts, voice sharp, commanding. I fire blind down the hallway, ducking behind a blast shield. My pulse rifle hums hot in my hands. A trooper lunges. Kiara intercepts him midair, slamming him into the bulkhead. Her voice growls, keep moving. We fall back through the smoke and gunfire, rounding into a secondary corridor. I can activate the overload from here. I call breath ragged. Do it, she answers, holding the rear. I punch in the sequence. Lights across the hall strobe red as system-wide disruption pulses through the ship. All systems compromised, and AI voice announces overhead. Command integrity failure imminent. Kiara grabs my arm. We go. Now. We run, cutting through chaos. The ship groans, interior lighting flickering. Enemy fire scorches the walls. A shot grazes my side. I stumble. She catches me. Her voice drops urgent, tight. You're hit. Just a scratch, I hiss, wincing. I'll complain later. She supports me as we sprint back toward the EVA port. Suddenly, the deck erupts. A structural tremor knocks us off our feet. We slam into the floor. Debris rains down. I roll over, vision blurred. Kiara. I'm fine, she says, coughing, pulling me up. We reach the outer hatch. A final door sealed tight. No response, I mutter, trying the panel. They locked it down. Kiara steps forward, voice fierce. Then we make a new door. She plants a charge. Stand back. The blast rips the hatch apart. We dive out into vacuum magnetic boots, keeping us tethered to the surface as our shuttle decloaks nearby. The draconian smuggler's voice crackles over comms. I said I don't like the hegemony. I didn't say I was suicidal. You owe us, I bark into the mic. His voice grumbles. Fine, but you're buying drinks for a year. We're halfway into the bay when another warship opens fire, hitting our flank. The shock wave sends the shuttle spinning. Kiara loses her grip. She tumbles away from the hull. No, I shout, pushing off the bulkhead. Kiara. I extend a tether, barely catch her wrist. She looks at me through the visor, her voice calm but intense. Don't let go. Never, I whisper. Together we slam into the bay floor. Alarms blare. Atmosphere stabilizes. We collapse in a heap, gasping. Then we laugh. We're alive. Somehow. Back on the surface, celebrations erupt as the hegemony fleet fragments. With their command ship disabled and their systems compromised, Allied forces strike hard and fast. By nightfall, the enemy retreats. Victory. And with it, questions. In the days that follow, Kiara and I are debriefed, interrogated, congratulated, and awkwardly studied. Diplomats want details. Soldiers want tactics. Journalists want love stories. Was it really because of the butt comment, one human reporter asks? Kiara's response is perfectly deadpan. He displayed assertive mating behavior. I choke on my drink. Tyvek promotes her to strategic liaison. Harrington makes me Earth's permanent envoy to the new Vexari coalition. We're not just symbols anymore. We're precedent. A week later, we stand beneath the triple moons on a private balcony. Kiara's voice is soft. Tomorrow we attend the summit as bonded delegates. I nod. We've become a diplomatic weapon. She turns to me, her expression unreadable. Do you regret it? I shake my head slowly. Not for a second. Her fingers find mine. I still don't understand your kind, she murmurs. Most humans don't either, I say with a grin. She leans in. Her voice drops. But I've accepted the challenge. The world is quiet for now, but we both know peace is temporary. The stars are changing, alliances are forming, and in the shadows other enemies wait, but we'll face them together. Because somehow through war, deception, diplomacy, and one very inappropriate compliment, I found my equal, and she found her reason to blush. The room smells like polished metal and recycled air, sterile, too quiet. I've been in interrogation rooms before, but this one isn't just for show. It hums with surveillance tech walls pulsing with faint blue light that probably monitors my heartbeat, micro expressions, maybe even my digestive tract. Across the table, Ambassador Harrington leans forward, voice low but sharp. Derek, tell me exactly what you were doing transmitting nav coordinates to the Ethan survey ship 4 hours before it exploded. I blink. What he raises a brow, not amused. Don't play dumb. Your diplomatic passcode was used. The signal originated from your quarters. My jaw tightens. I didn't transmit anything. I was with Kiara all night. Then I pause. Well, mostly. Mostly. His tone is deadpan. I cough. We weren't exactly logging telemetry. Harrington sighs, rubbing his temples. This is serious. 63 crew members dead. Humans and Vexari both. Someone sabotaged the mission, and all the evidence points to you. I lean forward. Someone's setting me up. Again. His eyes narrow. That's the part I'm starting to believe. But the council won't care. They're calling for a formal tribunal. What about Kiara? He hesitates. She's been summoned to stand before the Vexari High Council. Apparently her emotional entanglement is now classified as a security compromise. My fists clench. That's bullshit. It's politics, Harrington replies quietly. And someone's playing it better than we are. Kiara doesn't say a word when they come for her. She stands in the center of our quarters, her arms crossed over her chest, armor, half-donned hair coiled tight into those ceremonial ridges that always seem to shimmer when she's agitated. I'll come with you, I offer. Her voice is flat. No, that would only make it worse. She doesn't look at me as she turns, but her hand brushes mine for just a second. A silent promise. Then she's gone. A day later, I'm off the books, officially suspended, unofficially, hunted by 3 departments and half the press corps. Every news cycle calls me the diplomat who doomed the alliance. It's amazing how quickly hero turns to pariah. I camp out in the lower levels of the Unity Tower, deep in maintenance shafts and diplomatic crawl spaces no one uses anymore. I eat recycled protein bricks and hack into secure logs using tricks from my old Spec Ops days. After 47 hours and way too much caffeine, I find it an access log buried beneath 4 layers of junk data. Someone used my credentials, sure, but the terminal wasn't mine. It came from a satellite relay tied to a Vexari auxiliary station orbiting Cygnus 7. Someone went through a lot of trouble to make it look like me, and that someone had Vexari clearance. I break into Harrington's personal comm buffer at 2:13 a.m. "You're not very subtle," he grumbles, appearing in the holofeed with a mug of what might be coffee. I found the source. The coordinates weren't sent from my quarters. They were spoofed through a Vexari satellite. Someone from their military side wanted that ship gone. His eyes widen and the mug lowers slowly. "You can prove this only if I don't get caught retrieving the internal logs from that satellite, which means I need clearance. And a ship," he groans. "You really are trying to get shot." I smile. At least this time, it'll be for a good reason. By the time I reach the station, it's clear someone's one step ahead. The satellite is offline, data core wiped, and the only thing left is a single encoded message. "The price of alliance is blood." I stare at it for a long moment before the proximity sensors trip, and that's when the sniper fires. I hit the deck, rolling behind a support pillar as plasma scorches the air above me. "I take it back," I mutter. "This isn't for a good reason. This sucks." 2 more shots follow, precise and methodical. I can hear the hum of a cloaked drone, Vexari tech military grade, and I'm in a damn EVA suit with no real cover. I do what any under-equipped human would do. I throw a wrench at the noise and run like hell. It takes me 17 minutes, a minor hull breach, and 1 very angry cleaning droid to escape the station and make it back to my shuttle. Breathing hard, I initiate launch. Remind me I pant why I ever left the peaceful life of pushing paper. The shuttle's AI chirps in Vexari. I think it translates to something like, "Because you're emotionally unstable and biologically overconfident." Not wrong. Back at Unity Command, I slip back into the archives. There's still a trace of the attacker's signature biometric markers embedded in the firing drone. I extract them, feed them through a cross-species genome matcher, and Kiara's battle sister comes up. Terrace Valar, elite tactician, devout purist. The same woman who once warned Kiara in a not-so-subtle whisper that no warrior should ever bind their blood to a human. Looks like she's decided to take her philosophy a little more kinetic. I break the news to Harrington first. "She's targeting the bond between Kiara and me," I explain. "Not just metaphorically, literally." He exhales slowly. "This could spark another war. Not if I get to her first. And what about Kiara?" I glance out the viewport at the stars beyond. She deserves to know the truth. But first I need to survive long enough to tell her. Kiara waits for me in the observation deck above the tribunal chamber. She stands, rigid arms folded behind her back, eyes fixed on the stars. Her armor is ceremonial, clean lines, sharp accents almost too polished. Her posture screams discipline. Her skin pulses faintly violet at her temples. I speak softly. "I found the one who framed me." She doesn't turn. I step closer. "Terra's, your sister." She stiffens, the lines in her neck tense. "That's not possible. She used a cloaked Vexari drone. Left a biometric trace. She sabotaged the satellite, spoofed my ID, and tried to kill me." Kiara finally looks at me, voice trembling, but cold. "You're accusing my kin of treason." I meet her gaze. "I'm not accusing. I'm reporting a fact. You taught me how to read your skin. Right now, you already know I'm telling the truth." Her skin flushes with a storm of color: red for anger, purple for pain, blue for sheer blistering control. "She warned me," she whispers. "When we bonded, she said I was compromising our caste, that I'd brought shame to our bloodline." "You didn't bring shame," I reply, stepping closer. "You brought hope." Kiara looks down. "Then why does it feel like everything's falling apart?" I gently touch her hand. "Because we're at the part of the story where the cost gets counted. The tribunal is a cold affair, formal, clinical, unforgiving. They question me first. About the transmission, the sabotage, the motives. I present everything: the trace logs, the sniper drone core, the genetic match. I even played the distorted audio from the attack terrace's battle cry, almost undetectable, but unmistakable to someone who knows her. Then they question Kiera. She speaks with steady fire, defending our bond, defending the truth. Her voice never wavers, even as her battle sister sits across the room, flanked by stoic Vexari guards. When asked if she believes Terrace is capable of betrayal, she hesitates only once. Yes, she says quietly. Out of loyalty to tradition, but not to justice. The room falls silent. That night, I find her in our quarters, alone in the dark, cradling the warrior's band I gave her during our bonding ceremony. You okay? I ask gently. Her voice is low. She was my closest blood. We trained together since hatchling years. She taught me how to fight, how to survive, and now I helped put her in chains. I sit beside her. She tried to destroy everything we fought for. She believed she was protecting our people, Kiera says, just from the wrong enemy. We sit in silence. Then she adds almost bitterly, unity is harder than war. I nod. That's why it's worth it. 2 weeks later, Terrace is exiled from the warrior caste, stripped of rank, armor, and status. The judgment is swift, but the aftermath isn't. The Vexari are divided. Some see our union as a symbol of progress. Others call it heresy. On Earth, the reaction isn't much better. An Earth senator openly questions my emotional objectivity. Kara's image appears in off-world tabloids, labeled as a militant seductress. We become icons, unwilling, undeniable. Harrington calls it a necessary friction. I call it bullshit wrapped in protocol, but we endure. The Peace Summit at Orion Prime is our first public appearance since the tribunal. Security is tighter than a black hole's grip. We're dressed to impress or to kill, depending on which culture you're asking. Kiara's armor gleams with the red gold of formal combat unity. My jacket is earth silk, woven with Vexari, threading an absurdly itchy compromise of aesthetics. As we step onto the dais, I hear murmurs ripple through the crowd. The two species that once nearly destroyed each other, now represented by two people who dared fall in love. I squeeze her hand, ready for more angry senators. She tilts her head. Only if I'm allowed to vaporize one. I grin. We'll negotiate. After the summit, the nights are quieter. In the quarters we now share, somewhere between a military barracks and a diplomatic suite, we settle into something almost like normal. We train together, debrief, cook, argue about spice ratios and Vexari stew. One evening I wake up to find her staring at the ceiling. Can't sleep, I murmur. She exhales through her nose. There's a petition to dissolve the warrior caste bond requirement. It has enough support to reach the High Council. That's good, right? She hesitates. If it passes, they'll say I fought for change. If it fails, they'll say I was the reason it was needed. You're not just the reason, I whisper. You're the proof. She turns toward me, the faint purple of her skin glowing in the low light. You always say things like that, I smile. Because they're true. Weeks turn into months. The alliance holds but barely. Tensions rise again in border sectors. Trade negotiations stall. Old wounds fester beneath polite smiles and diplomatic wine toasts. But we keep working, keep fighting, together. Until one day an encrypted message pings my terminal. Classified for Derek Reeves. Priority 1. I open it. A single line stares back at me. Project Tether is active. Earth no longer trusts Vexari Command. And suddenly I realize, peace isn't permanent. And someone, maybe someone on our side, is already planning for the next war. In the cold silence after war, we often ask, what did we truly win? The battle is over. The threat has passed. But what remains is more than victory. It's transformation. A warrior and a diplomat broke ancient codes to build a bridge between stars. They paid with loyalty, family, even their own identities. But through pain, defiance, and trust, they forged something stronger than treaties' understanding. And as humanity and the Vexari navigate a fragile peace, one truth becomes clear. It wasn't weapons that changed the galaxy. It was a single inappropriate compliment, and the courage to follow it. This story might have ended, but the universe is vast and alliances always come with a price. If you enjoyed this journey across politics, passion, and plasma blades, subscribe now to ASTRO HFY, where humanity doesn't just survive the stars, we rewrite the damn rules. ASTRO HFY, Bold tales of diplomacy, defiance, and daring across the galaxy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you believe humans belong among the stars. And sometimes on the wrong end of a warrior's slap. We'll see you in the next story.